Tonight, we have a very special episode for you. The team and I are on location in the LBL in Kentucky. We're going to be interviewing director of ASOG, investigator, and author Trey Hudson. He is going to tell us all about his UFO investigations, his cryptid and paranormal encounters, and anomalies of high strangeness. So get ready for another episode of Beyond the Ordinary. We are so happy to have you. Where are you from?
From originally Florida, but currently I live in a small town in Alabama, which is basically 4 stop signs and a volunteer fire department.
Okay, all right.
So how did you get started in all things high strangeness?
All things high strange. I was a child of the 70s. And if you remember, back in the 70s, there were wonderful TV shows like In Search of, Project UFO, and some wonderful documentaries came out. One of them was Bigfoot, The Legend of Sasquatch, which was a pseudo documentary. And who can forget The Legend of I mean, that's a great one. So I grew up watching this stuff. And I was like some sort of weird little maladaptive sponge. You soaked all this stuff in. And so I had a really, healthy interest in it. My father was also interested in it. I was a little kid that had, instead of having football magazines, I had like Bigfoot and UFO magazines. And so, as I got older, I went to a university that had, they had an interest in parapsychology. I studied under Dr. William Roll, a famous parapsychologist. So I have a real baseline, for interest in this kind of phenomenon.
So can you tell us a little bit about this Meadow Project, how you began developing an interest in it, and what is it?
Yeah, the Meadow Project started off as basically, I started off as a ghost guy, paranormal researcher, and I was digging into folklore. And this particular area in which the meadow is located had an interesting folkloric content that involved a haunted road. Everybody has a haunted road story. Don't go down there at night. The haints will come out and scratch your car and all of that. And we were researching with my friend Bob Wilson and Daryl Neese. And Daryl and I had gone down to the haunted road, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. A total zero. But Bob had an amazing UAP experience back at base camp. So we're like, forget that haunted road business. Let's start looking here. And it just so happened within about half a mile, and Greg has been there, of our location at base camp, there was a large field. And logistically, it made sense to use that field as a center for research. It had a big open sky, so you could see the sky for like UAPs and stuff. It was open enough and large enough you could put teams around the side with night vision and thermal so they could see anything moving across it. It was big enough that it would create a track trap with the grass and dirt. And there was a tall ridge next to it that you could put teams on to look down. So logistically, it made sense. And it was just one of those rare things that happens every once in a while that we hit the bullseye, and it turned out to be just such a unique place of extreme high strangeness that we've been investigating it since 2017.
Wow, that's incredible. So, what kind of activity have you found?
Well, you probably need to rephrase the question on what haven't we seen?
Yeah.
It is, it's known as the Skinwalker Ranch of the South.
Okay.
And it has everything from cryptids, UAPs, missing time, orbs, disembodied voices, portals, just everything you can imagine.
Wow.
And so, one of our ASOG's main goals is we try to bring the empirical and the experiential together. The empirical is very important. We record data with, Geiger counters, EMF meters, all of your wide array, your plethora of equipment. But we also really value the experiential. If you don't have a person experience this phenomena, then does it really matter? It's a very human thing. So we try to bring these two disciplines together and look at it in a very holistic way.
So how long have you been studying it? And in that time, give us some of your poignant moments that stuck in your mind.
We've been looking at it, started off kind of touching on it in 2016, really started researching in 2017. Some of our most amazing encounters we've had is we've had missing time. And the missing time was so profound that the individual who experienced that missing time, we were not able to break through that block even during hypnoregression. We have a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist on our staff.
What do you mean missing? Just expand a little on that.
We were doing an operation where this individual was going to move into the meadow and move up to the top of the ridge. They forgot a piece of equipment. It happens. Went back and got it. Was returning back to the meadow, and he reached a very unique landmark. And he said, came on the radio and said, "I don't know how I got here. I don't recall walking here from base camp." We thought it was a medical, condition, a medical thing, stroke, a concussion, something like that. And everything checked out. But what was really interesting is he had some other strange phenomena that night. He had the missing time, but there was also a moment when he came down off the top of the ridge and we had two individuals observing him, both, formally educated individuals, professionals, very grounded people watching him. And they observed him turn into a ball of energy and move several hundred meters in just a matter of a few seconds.
Your teammate.
Yes.
So you're saying your teammate was observed by two other people turning into a ball of energy.
Yes.
Describe this, Paul.
I did not see it, but it was described as like a ball of light that you could see with the naked eye, and it moved. When we calculated the distance, it was about 23 miles per hour. This terrain is kind of rugged, and you can't run on it. So,
was it a white light or a blue light?
I believe it was. I think it was a red light.
A red light.
Wow.
I believe so. Now, I could be mistaken. And so when the light stopped, they quickly brought their thermals up, and there was the heat signature of the individual standing there. And when they radioed him, they saw the heat signature bring the radio up to its mouth and respond. And the individual that happened to has no recollection of it.
Wow.
So to him, he was just walking across the meadow. To these other individuals, he had turned into what they perceived as a ball of energy. What's interesting are these are two realities, different realities, happening at the same place and the same time. So it's almost like reality shifts just a little bit at this place. And these two realities can exist at the same time. And that's why you can have different people having different perceptions of the same event.
Now, you talk about the different realities. Now, we have heard about this famous encounter that's happened there. This, for lack of a better term, portal.
Yeah.
And can you describe this incident?
Yeah, it was an amazing evening. This was in February of 2017. And like we have before, we set up several teams on the periphery of the meadow, equipped with night vision, thermal, and all the other accoutrements that you would have during a research investigation. And 3 team members were up on top of the ridge, and one team member, looking down into the meadow, on his thermal saw a box, a cube, and he thought that it was basically like a fiber optic or communication interface, like you see on the side of the road, one of the big boxes. And he recalls thinking, how did I miss this? You know, all the times we've been here, how have I completely not noticed this? And he passed his thermals back to me and said, I'm seeing like a box or a cube there. And I looked through the thermals and it was deer, or what I thought were deer. And also at that time, we had another team member that was using his thermal, and what he saw were two, let me back up, one man-sized heat signature. I'm not going to say man-shaped. So you're talking about something maybe 1.5 to 1.75 meters tall, you know, maybe half a meter wide. And as he's recording this on his thermal, this heat signature is tall, short, tall, short, tall, short, and then splits into two distinct heat sheets and disappear. So it's like, well, I think this is going to be a very interesting evening. And that was indeed some profound foreshadowing, because it turned out to be a very interesting evening. About that time, we heard on the radio that other team members were detecting on their thermals, not with the naked eye, boxes, cube-like, you know, motifs appearing in different parts of the meadow. Would appear, dissipate, appear, dissipate. And once we were able to get down to where they were, their heat signatures completely disappeared from our thermal. I mean, like they were gone. And it was very profound, very distinct. And we have since tried to recreate it. We have both the disappearance of their heat signatures on video and the recreation on video. And we were not able to duplicate. The video is so profound that it was actually featured on a network show and sent out to a team of experts to be analyzed, and the only thing they could come up with was inconclusive. The individuals, when they went into the remnants of this box or cube, they described an environment that was very dark, very silent. The environment was free of any obstacle. They walked in unhindered. It was cold. The temperature had dropped. They stayed in there for 90 or so seconds, decided it was time to retreat. And when they came out, they started encountering brambles, briars, and bushes and stuff that weren't there when they went in. So once again, it's like you had two realities. One that was the normal environment of the meadow, you know, with the brambles and briars and all of that. And one that was just a little bit different, clear of encumbrances that existed at the same time at the same place.
So I have a question that listening to you, I've just formulated, and it's really, you're recording very different paranormal events or anomalous. My question is, have you considered if there ever is any sentience, any intelligence behind this? Yeah. And if so, what does it want?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that was you know, one of our theories is, you know, was there a non-human intelligence that either was utilizing this manifestation of a portal, and that's a label, but it's a convenient label, and we'll just use that because it's easy. You know, was it using this conveyance or was it manufacturing this conveyance? And we actually, in another session, we used a technique called the Estes protocol or Estes method. And we set up at the area within about 20 meters of where this cube or box was during the day, and we did an Estes session. And the amazing thing is on the video of this session, it appears that we have a two-way communication with a non-human intelligence. And the intelligence actually becomes rather agitated and mad at us when we start questioning the phenomenology of the portals of the cube. You know, I start asking about plasma energy, gravitational field, singularities, things like that, and it becomes very agitated, almost like it did not want us to go down that line.
Didn't want you to ask questions.
So yeah, I think that, you know, and I always tell people, I'll let the viewers make up their mind whether they think that was two-way communication. But everybody that's ever seen that video and the numerous lectures I've given all over the country, almost 100% of the people agree that that does appear to be some sort of communication.
So the two individuals that went into the cube for 90 seconds and came back out, did they have any after effects of that? Were they sick?
Yeah, there were a total of 4. There were 2 entrances into the cube or portal. The first entrance was 4 people, myself and 3 other members. The second entry was 2 people. Of the 4 people that went in, and of course that was the same same 4 people, and the 2 were all part of the same group. Only half of us are still alive.
Wow. And what were the effects?
It's one of those things I can't. Correlation does not make causation. It's correlation. But it's interesting that now you're starting to read the Defense Intelligence Agency and various other groups are starting to look at health effects with encounters of high strangeness. That there seems to be a definitive correlation between that. So, it's one of those things that you have to really wonder about. We've had some of our other team members have some pretty profound health issues, that plague them to this day. I've got some health issues. And yeah, they seem to happen after these events of high strangeness. Now, who knows? And that's something that I always caution anybody getting into this business is you really need to be aware of that. You need to be cognizant that, there are some dangers involved.
What does it want, Trey? What does it want, this thing?
Uh, I don't know. And I really don't know. And I'll do an analogy.
Yeah.
Is if you imagine some workmen repairing a sidewalk and they're, you know, leveling the concrete and all, and this little kid comes up, a little chatty child, a kind of a Dennis the Menace kind of child. And he sits there and he's just jabbering and chatting, and he doesn't really know what the workmen are doing. He's just curious. Workmen have 3 options. Option number 1, they can scare the kid away, make him go away. Number 2, they can ignore the kid and continue doing whatever it is they're doing. Or they could maybe take pity and interact with the kid a little bit. We're the child. We have no idea of what the others or the NHIs are actually doing, what their ultimate goal is. It might not even have anything to do with us. We might be nothing more than ants walking up on a roadside picnic. So, what they want, what their goals are, even if we could find out and we're given some information on that, it might be so beyond our comprehension, we wouldn't even understand what we were looking at.
Well, given that, what do you want?
I love a mystery. Okay, I think the world is much richer when we have mysteries. And human beings are number 1, we're curious and inquisitive, and number 2, we're storytellers. So what I want to do is continue investigating and researching this mystery, and I want to continue telling this story.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So where are you going from now? Like, what's next on your journey?
What's next on my journey is as I'm reaching out to other researchers of high strangeness. I've started to go out to some other of the really well-known areas of high strangeness. I have a very good friend of mine that has done a lot of research at the famous Colorado Ranch that's featured in the first chapter of Keller and Knapp's book, The Hunt for the Skinwalker. So I've been out there, and I'm looking into more of these incidents of high strangeness and trying to find correlations. What are some commonalities? And my ultimate goal is to determine indicators and signatures of high strangeness. One thing that we're seeing at my site and other sites are tiny radiation spikes. That seems to be across the board. So we can come up with a protocol where we watch for certain signatures, and maybe we can kind of prepare ourselves to either capture, observe, or interact with high strangeness, as it manifests.
What were your initial feelings when you learned that they disappeared off of the?
It was astonishment. We knew that we had captured something very profound. It was so profound, in fact, that once we got back to base camp, we did an immediate after-action review, and I facilitated the after-action review using cognitive interviewing techniques. That's about a 40-minute video of that after-action review, that AAR. And as soon as we finished that, we took the SD cards out of all of the equipment, sealed them up in a metal pouch, Faraday pouch, and we had a team member get on his motorcycle and return to the city to lock it up in a safe within a few hours. We knew it was that important. Now, multiple copies have been made and distributed among different team members, and it's featured in the media now and filmed and things. So it's it's out there. So I think it's what I tell people is it's not my experience. It's not my story. It's the world's story. And I want people to know, and I want people to look at it, hear it, ponder, and take from it what they will.
Yeah.
So you're saying when the people walked into the portal, that their reality was that it changed from being in a forest setting to something completely devoid of vegetation
Right.
and obstacles and everything.
Sound,
else.
light, everything. It was
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, it's almost like, I hate to use a pop culture reference, but it's like it was the upside down, in Stranger Things. It was different. It was our reality, but different, shifted in some way. And that goes back to, how can light be, using the dual slit experiment as an example, how can light be a particle and a wave? It can at the same time. It just depends on how the observer is looking at it when it takes its quantum state. So I think what we might be seeing, and this is kind of radical, is we might be seeing quantum effects on a macro scale, which is quite amazing.
So just for context, quantum is when we're talking about small particles,
Right.
and then when we're talking about macro, that explains other things.
Right. The macro is, actually being able to interact with it in our day-to-day.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're seeing things that usually are seen only at a quantum scale, but now we're seeing them as we interact, in day-to-day.
So when those interactions happen, do you think that there's an intelligence behind those interactions, or do you feel it's a spot that is a focal point for activity?
Fair question. And once again,
See what I'm driving at?
I do.
I'm all about intention with this.
Well, I'm going to use an analogy.
Yeah.
I do analogies as thought experiment. Is wind, okay? Wind is a natural phenomenon that can be harnessed for a purpose, i.e., sailboats, windmills, and all of that. It's a natural phenomenon that can just exist without any interaction, with man. It exists on its own, or we can artificially create it. So these portals, or this other phenomena, is it a natural phenomena that just exists whether anybody, NHI or humans, interacted with it? Is it something that is known to the NHI and they take advantage of it? Or more intriguing, is it a technology that they themselves create? And if they themselves are creating the technology, perhaps we can start picking up on some of the signatures, some of the detritus of the generation of that technology that we can use to further research and pinpoint other locations around the Earth. The neat thing is, I don't think these locations are necessarily exclusive. I think they're pretty universal. And if people just sit down and start doing their own research, they might find one, within 5 or 6 miles of where they live.
Do you think the governments of the world know about this phenomenon?
Yeah, I think they do. I think that is one of the driving forces behind Bigelow Aerospace being contracted by the Defense Intelligence Agency to establish NIDS, National Institute for Discovery Science, under a special access program and research at Skinwalker Ranch. I think that was the whole impetus behind that. I think there are probably other sites that they have looked at. I think the really interesting thing is I think the end state of that investigation was basically a big shrug of their shoulders. I think they're like the rest of us. They really don't know what's going on. And that's what I tell people. You don't come to me looking for answers. Because number one, do I not know the answers? I probably don't even know what the right questions are.
Now, knowing what you know about the portals, would you recommend somebody taking a vacation through a portal if they ever saw one?
Yeah, maybe Portal Vallarta. That's a very bad pun. I can't emphasize enough that there is very real danger to this. The effects of some of the energetics that these things either generate or cause can be harmful. And you really, really need to be careful and have some tight protocols. We have, medical staff on board when we go out. We try to, look at any eventuality. And I would tell people to really think and really search their soul before they thought about doing something like that. Unless it was somewhere really cool, then it's like
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywhere cool that you want to go?
Yeah, anywhere cool you want.
Yeah, anywhere cool.
Well, Las Vegas.
Yeah, that'd be nice, huh?
What happens in the portal stays in the portal.
Yeah.
Well, knowing what you've seen, you've had reports of a person turning into energy.
Mhm.
Um, would you surmise that if a human can do it, would you surmise that other entities
Brilliant.
would have that
Yes,
ability to do it?
absolutely. And I know where you're headed with this. I absolutely 100%. I'll tell you why. Human beings are multidimensional creatures. Okay, human beings can do remote viewing, and that was studied by the government through the Stanford Research Institute. The CIA documents are now declassified on that, so that is a real phenomenon. So if human beings are multidimensional creatures, I don't think it's too much of a mental stretch to think maybe that other cryptids, like Bigfoot, are also multidimensional creatures. And there is just too much anecdotal evidence of it being able to do things that a physical flesh and blood creature can't do. And for example, track lines that just appear, travel a distance and then disappear. We have encountered heat signatures of what we think are cryptids that are actually colder or near the ambient temperature of the environment. And I went back and compared that to some anthropological studies of baboons using thermals on drones, and you can't hide the thermal heat signature of hands and face of a primate. But yet these images were just a fudge warmer than the ambient temperature, so that made no sense. We have footage of a large hulking figure that's colder than its surroundings. So you go back and you look at ghost stories. What's one of the things people talk about? The room got cold. So there's a theory that sometimes these exotic vacuum objects, which you can use that to surmise maybe a cryptid or other creature, when it appears, plasma is actually sometimes colder than its environment. So yeah, you have to really wonder, and then you hear about mind speak and all these other phenomena that are, are, you know,
frequency related.
yes, yeah, and they seem to be extra dimensional. They seem to operate and manifest outside of our understanding of the three-dimensional Euclidean universe that we're used to.
Yeah. Now, knowing that our government has come out and said that interdimensional beings exist, they've recently come out and said that. And given the anecdotal evidence that we've had of Bigfoot and other cryptids, and what has happened with the individuals that strayed into the portal, do you think that some of these cryptids inherently know that a portal is not good for organic health, and they can traverse these portals in energy form?
Possible. We can't breathe underwater, but yet I've been scuba diving all over the place, using equipment. So it's possible. It is not outside of the realm of possibility that they understand how to utilize these gateways for their own use.
Do you think that it's just, and to your point, Greg, how we have heard Bigfoot transform into an orb and then just disappear? Do you think that other entities use portals?
Yeah, I think so. It makes sense to me that it'd just be too valuable of an asset for an NHI not to use. Now, once again, going back to the ants at the roadside picnic, ants don't understand what a picnic is. We might not understand what they're actually doing with these portals or apertures. It might just be so beyond our understanding that we just have to take it on faith.
Yeah.
So, bearing in mind the knowledge that you've accumulated, what do you feel the next steps are? Is there a goal you want to achieve soon, or is it continued study?
It's continued study, continuing to get the story out. I want to hear from other researchers. One of my, my big wish list is that, researchers that are specifically looking at areas of extreme high strangeness, that we stop being so parochial and actually start sharing data. And I think by sharing data, we can really jump ahead in everybody's research capabilities because we're not all having to invent the wheel on our own. So that's one of my big goals is, maybe cut down on some of the stovepiping of data and research and actually start talking to one another.
So, what would you say to viewers who are a little nervous or anxious about sharing the information or experiences that they've had,
Right.
and just kind of give them encouragement?
Yeah, one of the things that I tell people is, there are other people that have had your experience. And I've seen some amazing things in my lifetime. One of the most amazing things is the internet. There are forums and groups for pretty much any interest in the world. And you're not alone. Nobody has to be existentially isolated anymore. And there are organizations like I'm also a MUFON field investigator. If you think that you've encountered something like with report it to MUFON. They'll investigate it. They'll research it. If you think that you've encountered some sort of cryptid, there's numerous cryptid organizations that will take your report. Reach out in to like-minded people in forums, Facebook groups and etc., and share your story. And ignore the toxic people. They're always out there. They're not the ones really looking for the truth. They are the blockers, and they are the enemies of truth.
Yes.
So just reach out to people, talk, share your experience, and always keep that sense of mystery and that curiosity.
Trey, where can everybody find you?
Right. Is go behind the liquor store and sleeping in a cardboard box.
Yeah.
That is similarly where we found Natalie.
Exactly right.
It is. I'm one of those guys. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have a TikTok. I really don't have time for all of that.
I could see you as a dancer on TikTok, Trey.
Yeah. Shaking my moneymaker.
Right.
But people can find me at treyhudsonresearch.com. They can also email me at treyhudsonresearch@gmail.com. And I hang out quite often on my Facebook page, which is Trey Hudson-author. I've got several books out there, films, and people can, just peruse that at their leisure.
What are the names of your books and where can people find your books?
People can find my books on Amazon. Just go in the search bar, type Trey Hudson. It is The Meadow Project and Return to the Meadow. And I'm very proud of both of those books. I am, of course, biased, but I think it is an amazing read.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Trey. I'm very grateful for that. We all are for sharing this.
Thank you for being a guest on our show. We appreciate it. And we hope to have you again sometime.
Well, you know where to get me.
We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trey.
I have one last question. Natalie, I thought you was going to brush your hair.
Motherfucker!